All right. We're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Begin. All right. Welcome back to episode 6 of 32 and Goal. I am your host, Corey, and today we got Rob. Oh, there's no Rob. We got Ryan and Tyler. And start off with Thursday Night Football. Did you guys end up watching last night's game?
Yeah, I watched part of it.
Yeah, same here.
Same. I've been slacking a little bit on my football watching with the recent release of Red Dead Redemption 2, but I was able to catch a little bit of it. And the Panthers looked okay. I think the Steelers just all around dominated that game, though.
Panthers looked great at the beginning of the game. If you think about the first drive particularly, they looked like they were primed to take over the game, but the Steelers just scored so fast, so easily.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Christian McCaffrey, like you said, in that first drive, I thought he could have easily got almost 200 yards, all-purpose yards and a handful. I mean, he still had 3 touchdowns, but
Right.
Yeah, he did end up getting 3 touchdowns.
But yeah, the Steelers, I mean, they came out and they were just that defense could not stop them at all.
Could tell that the Steelers had a game plan against the Panthers that they weren't going to throw anything over the middle. Everything was on the outside. They attacked their cornerbacks. Their linebackers were good. Anything thrown over the middle got defended. Julius Peppers defended a pass and to force a 4th down. I think like their only 4th down of the game probably.
Yeah, their punter only punted, I think, once, maybe twice there at the end, but
yeah, it was an inside 20 punt too, so like even he was pulling his weight there. My dad had Antonio Brown and McCaffrey playing last night in fantasy football against me. He had Roethlisberger too, but he played Cam Newton instead. He ended up getting like 75 points against me first on Thursday, so that's unfortunate. James,
I see Ryan had McCaffrey and Connor in there too.
Yeah, I figured at least one of them would have a big game. Was hoping for both, but yeah, Christian McCaffrey's been looking good.
Yeah, he is looking real good. You're playing my mom too, so that's funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna beat your mom's ass.
Someone asked you. Yeah, McCaffrey had 3 touchdowns last night, 14 carries. That team heavily relies, like I say this week in, week out, that team needs someone else on that team, on that offense, a power weapon. So all they do is rely on McCaffrey and Newton. And Cam Newton threw 23 for 29 yesterday. It's really good. But, Roethlisberger just threw 22 for 25. It's hard to keep up with that. And,
Roethlisberger had more touchdowns than incompletions.
Yeah, exactly. He hit 5 touchdowns, only 3 incompletions. That's crazy. And
I mean, if your defense is allowing that many points, I mean, Newton did have that terrible pick 6 in the beginning of the game, which is really where the game started blowing up.
Awful.
But when your defense is allowing that many scores that quickly, it's hard to keep up with that.
Yeah, seriously. I hadn't started watching the game yet. I watched the highlights earlier today. And I was like, okay, what did I miss so far? And I turned it on. It was already 21-7. I was like, what in the world happened?
The Steelers had, I think, 21 points with like less than 30 seconds of possession time.
That's crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they scored 14 points within 13 seconds because they had a 1-play touchdown to Juju Smith, and then the next play, after the kickoff, was a pick 6 thrown by Cam Newton.
Yeah, I mean,
you take the safety there. I mean, that didn't really decide the game, but you just take the safety. Yeah.
I probably would have just thrown it out of bounds.
It looked like he was trying to hit Greg Olsen right there, but just overthrew him right to the defender.
Yeah, it's hard to say what he was trying to do. It was just a terrible pass, terrible decision on his part.
Yeah, just terrible.
But yeah, Steelers, advance. I think they're going to start pulling away soon. I don't know.
Yeah, they've looked great lately. I mean, TJ Watt was really good in that game. I mean, their defense played well too. I mean, you could like Cam had an efficient game, but I think their defense showed up when it needed to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and depending on how the Bengals do this week, we could start seeing the Steelers take it away. And the Bengals are playing the Saints, so it's going to be pretty hard. But all right, let's go on to the Redskins, 5-3 at the Buccaneers, 3-5. Ryan, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I have I got the Skins winning this game. The Buccaneers have been so all over the place this season. I mean, under center, they've had Winston, they've had Fitzpatrick. I mean, we've seen Fitz Magic show up a few times this season, but this team has been so across the spectrum, just all over the place. Washington had a rough game last week, but I think they'll be able to regroup and come back, and I think they'll be able to beat the Tampa Bay on this one.
Yeah, I agree. I also have Tampa Bay going. Is Fitzpatrick going to start again? Do we know that?
I believe so. I think he's getting the nod from here on out.
He'll start the rest of the season.
I'm not surprised. I'm not a big fan of, I don't think Winston is the guy that's going to take this team to the next level. I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be that guy either. But he's more consistent. He has 17 touchdowns on the season already, only 7 interceptions. And Winston has 6 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. And you look at this team, and they have a decent team. They have Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, OJ Howard, and some really good defensive linemen. But they're just they're a weird team to watch because you feel like they can be doing so much better, but at the same time they just make these stupid decisions week in and week out that cost him the game. Winston got pulled a couple weeks back when he threw 5 interceptions in one game. You're like, well, what are you guys doing? Why are you making these decisions? And it's against this team in Washington, I think it's going to be hard. Alex Smith is a quarterback that I often forget about. Adrian Peterson's doing really well on that team, but Alex Smith is kind of subpar quarterback at best. He's only sitting at nine touchdowns, 63% completion on the season. He's doing okay, which is where I think a lot of people thought he was going to be, is just doing okay. But, they have a good team there in Washington.
Did you pick in that game?
Me? I'm picking the Redskins.
Oh, well, okay, then I'm the only one picking the Bucks. The Redskins, they are a good team. I just think they're a competent team. I think that's why they've got a good record. Like you mentioned, the Bucks have a good players on their defensive line, and I think that the Redskins having 3 of their offensive linemen injured is going to catch up to them in this game. And like you're also mentioning, their offense just isn't really doing much. They've controlled the clock by running a lot, but they don't really put up a lot of points. The Bucks have in any game the potential to put up a lot of points with all the weapons you mentioned, and also Adam Humphries comes out of nowhere in the last game, and he's also another weapon to consider. So I'm gonna go with the Bucks.
Fair. Let's see. Where are the Bucks sitting as far as total offense? Do you guys know? Hold on, I can bring it up real quick.
I don't know off the top of my head, what their offense brings.
I've heard multiple times, if you combine the stats, the fantasy points at least of Jameis Winston and Ryan Fitzpatrick, that they'd be second to Patrick Mahomes on the year. So they must be scoring a lot.
Yeah, it looks like they're sitting right now at 4th in total offense, so they're doing really well.
Yeah, and total yards, they average 100 more yards total in a game more than the Redskins,
which is absolutely insane.
It's really, they're a boom or bust team. You either see a team where you're like, holy crap, they could compete, or it's just Browns levels.
Yeah, I think the teams that beat the Bucks are the teams that they have enough offense to. Then the Bucks have a horrible defense, so they end up scoring a ton against them, like the Panthers did. I just don't think the Redskins are that team.
Right. I mean, the Bears pretty much straight dominated them earlier in the season. The Bucks did beat the Saints. They're the Saints' only loss on the season, I believe. And they beat the Eagles. They lost the Steelers. Like, they've beat good teams. They've lost to okay teams. They lost the Falcons, who aren't necessarily having a great year.
They have enough offense that they can put up a ton of points on a bad defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a team that has a super high ceiling, but a very still low floor.
Yeah. Same with the Bucks, to be honest.
Right. But yeah, got two of us got Redskins, one of us got the Bucks. We'll see how that goes. Next game, Cardinals, 2-6 Cardinals versus the 8-1 Chiefs in Kansas City.
I got the Chiefs on this one, obviously. Just the Cardinals have been, I haven't watched any of their games like the past couple of weeks, but have they even had anyone break 100 yards of offense, like a running or receiving yet this season? I knew a couple of weeks ago they hadn't yet. Their offense is just so far down there and underperforming.
The last game, they started to look a little better on offense because Larry Fitzgerald, I think he was injured earlier in the year. I mean, their offense is bad, and that had to do with his lack in production also. But I think he was just injured. He had a hamstring injury, and I think he's recovered from that. That's not going to be enough to pull them away against anybody, especially the Chiefs. But I mean, they are coming along. They fired their offensive coordinator and put in someone who's made the offense a little bit more like it was before with their pass coach. But yeah, they're not good. The Chiefs are one of the best teams. There's nothing else to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs have probably the three of the most athletic players covering their positions. So yeah, they're tough for any team.
Yeah, Larry Fitzgerald, to top what you said, Tyler, did have 102 yards last week against the 49ers, which is a Cardinals win I don't think any of us predicted. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah.
But, they don't have a bad team in terms of players. On paper, they're a decent team. David Johnson, Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald. Like, these guys are all pretty good. David Johnson has been known to make a really good, reception play, too. So it's like they have a decent team.
Yeah, David Johnson's the best receiver at running back in the league. Maybe you could say Le'Veon Bell's better, but David Johnson could be a wide receiver in this league. They just don't use him right.
And I think a lot of it has to do with just
thing coming into this season was we've all seen what David Johnson can do, and then obviously the injury last year. But yeah, like you said, they're not using him right. Like, he can catch out of the backfield, and they're just not getting him any touches. They're not giving him any looks from the backfield.
Yeah, exactly. And going forth, the Cardinals, they may be only at 2 wins right now. They may be 2-6, but they go to the Raiders next week. They play the Lions, without Golden Tate. The Lions are struggling a little bit. Falcons, Seahawks. These are teams they could potentially beat and still somehow manage to get a wild card. It might be a little too late in the season for a morale boost. Their locker room seems kind of depleted at this time, but I think they could still make a push. It's not going to be this week. I think they're going to get straight dominated. But next week, going against the Raiders, they could easily start making a push to, for that wild card spot. Their season's not over even though they only have 2 wins, but that's because a lot of teams right now are barely at 500. So, it's going to be interesting the rest of the season. Do I think Cardinals can make it? Probably not. Not if they continue playing the way they have. Rookie quarterback going into a tough spot. It's kind of hard. But, they only have to play the Rams one more time. Falcons, Lions, even the Packers, they could beat all these teams.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, Josh Rosen, he's done all right, but as a rookie quarterback coming in, then halfway through the season, you lose your offensive coordinator. That's tough for any team. And then for a rookie quarterback, yeah, that's too much to order.
Yeah. That's fair. I think they probably should have kept Sam Bradford playing, but
They put him on.
they put him on.
Released him.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
released
they
him.
released him.
I know. I think it was a little premature for that. Josh Rosen, he threw 2 interceptions his first 4 throws. So it's kind of one of them got overturned, but I don't know. We'll see. He could be one of those rookie quarterbacks, kind of like Trubisky last year, who just underperformed and is doing pretty average this year, pretty above average.
Well, I mean, even better than Trubisky. I mean, look at Goff and Wentz's first year. We would not that first year. You would never have guessed where they're at right now.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. He's adjusting to the game. We don't know where Darnold, Rosen, Mayfield. We don't know where they're going to end up after this current year.
Yeah, it's hard.
They've been baptized by fire.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I don't think I need to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. Everyone knows they're just a dominant offense. So, moving on. Bills, the 2-7 Bills versus the 3-6 Jets. Interesting. Who wants to start? I don't really have much to say about either of these two teams. I don't even know who I want to win yet, or who I'm going to pick to win yet.
I'm picking the Jets to win the game.
Yeah, it's pretty. Seems like the obvious choice, right? To pick the Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're both bad teams. I like the Jets just because I think they're a little bit better. They're gonna play McCown this week rather than Darnold because Darnold's injured, and I think that's better for the team. I understand why they want to play Darnold, but McCown is a veteran that's basically an average quarterback, and I think that's an upgrade over a rookie that's kind of been struggling.
Right. And, on the other side of the ball, Bills, who are they playing this week? Who's their quarterback? They seem to change him every week. Is it going to be Peterman again?
I think it's Peterman.
I believe it is Peterman, yeah.
And go on.
I mean, Peterman's a quarterback where he threw 3 interceptions, and that raised his interception ratio, or raised his ratio. He's
That's
something
ridiculous.
where, how he's still employed and Kaepernick is still on the sidelines is beyond me. But I mean, this is one of those divisional games where it could end up being a halfway decent game because it is a divisional game. But Jets, I believe, especially with McCown under center, it got this one.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the Bills kind of held the Patriots down when they played on Monday night recently.
The Bills'
Patriots
defense.
It's good.
Great. It's just their offense is just so bad that they can't do anything, and that defense is out there all the time.
Exactly.
So you guys got Jets winning?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Bills on this one. I don't know why. I just feel like it's gonna be one of those weird Bills wins. The fact that the Bills even have 2 wins this season and nobody's talking about it is kind of insane. The Bills look like straight trash. I hate to say that about a team, but they're just not doing well. They're not a good team. And, if I'm a Bills fan, if I'm in Buffalo, I'm pretty upset. We have decent weapons on this team. We have LaShawn McCoy. He's kind of digressed over the years, but he's still decent. I don't know.
No, he's still fine. I mean, the team just, what are you going to do when you're the offensive weapon on a team? Defenses are going to be smart and scheme against you. And he's still, he's doing what he can with that. He looks fine, even with all his nagging injuries he has every year. When he plays, he looks good. He's still that guy. They're just giving him nothing to work with.
It's hard to be, unless you're on that Megatron level, unless you're just that one guy. It's hard. It's hard to.
I mean, even Megatron's record-breaking year, the Lions were terrible. They were losing those games. They were just chucking the ball to him. I mean, it's just volume.
What a great year that was, though, right?
I get your point. Yeah, that's still fun to watch. I mean, actually, you mentioned the Bills won twice. Those games, the games they won were against the Vikings and the Titans. They beat the Titans by 1 point at the very end of the game. They had to hold them off to win that game, and then they demolished the Vikings. So you're right. It's kind of weird where the Bills kind of give their fans hope, but it's like, why are you so bad still? It's their offense.
Yeah, it's definitely their offense. You know, they're averaging pretty low amount of everything. They're the lowest team in terms of points per game with only 10.7 points per game on average. Like, that's not good. That's not a good place.
Yeah.
They're beating
And then
Arizona.
The Cardinals are just jockeying for.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't forget about the Raiders.
The Raiders.
And the Raiders are gonna the longer the season goes on, the Raiders are gonna enter their tier of just terribleness.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on though, I think this is gonna be a pretty good game. The Jacksonville Jaguars, 3-5 versus the Colts, 3-5, AFC South. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, it's a huge game for their division, and I think the Colts are still gonna win. The Jags look terrible still. I wouldn't. No one would be surprised if the Jags came out and dominated this game because their defense has that ability. Their offense gets back their star running back, and they've looked good. They have the bye week to get healthier all around, but they just look so bad and unmotivated all year. And the Colts are the complete opposite. The Colts are somehow playing above their level of defense every week. Andrew Luck is
killing
MVP, most improved player by far.
If he doesn't get comeback player of the year, I'm going to be completely surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. He's a comeback player. There's no one else is even touching him in that race.
yeah. And now they found a really good running back in Marlon Mack. He seems to.
Oh yeah.
He's shown them that he could take that number one running back role and run with it, literally. And so I think now with the weapons, with that, Ebron and T.Y. Hilton for Luck, yeah, I think all around, you put Luck against Bortles, Luck's going to win.
Yeah, I like Luck. You know, he's sitting at 23 touchdowns this season. 23 touchdowns, Andrew Luck. That's completely insane. You know, and he does a really good job at spreading the ball around. You know, it's not just 1, 2, 3 guys like a lot of teams.
It
6,
isn't.
7,
Even
8.
while these guys have been in and out of the lineup with injuries, he's found guys that you don't even know who their names are. He's making guys like Naeem Hines comes out of nowhere and has games of, double-digit catches. You have the fifth string wide receivers. Andrew Luck is playing like Andrew Luck had in the past, even better, to be honest.
Yeah, he has 11
how we
different
expected
players.
him to be.
11 different receivers have touchdowns on this team. 11. Like, that's insane.
Insane.
He's doing a really good job of spreading the ball around.
His leading receiver is Eric Ebron, who, you guys know, from the Lions, like, was basically run out of Detroit from all these drop passes, but he's already got 36 receptions on the season and 7 touchdowns.
It was never about, he could always score touchdowns. It was just the amount of passes he was dropping in clutch situations, which still transferred over. He's still doing that in
I was gonna say he still makes drops, but a lot of good players make drops. It's just you got to just keep if you go back to him, they had to keep going back to him, and he's a playmaker. Yeah,
against the Pats, they didn't have T.Y. Hilton, so Eric Ebron was their main target. 2 touchdowns, 102 or 3 yards or something. He can go clutch.
At the beginning of that game, he started that game with a horrible drop.
Exactly, and everyone was like, same old Ebron, and then he ended up getting 2 touchdowns. One was because they called back when Eric Swoop caught the ball in the touchdown, said they, ran the same play but tossed to Ebron instead, but...
it could go the other way because I actually remember that Swoop. I'm pretty sure Swoop got a touchdown in that game, and it was a play where Eric Ebron had to come out of the game for some sort of injury.
Exactly.
For one, you have to go out for at least one play, and Swoop got the touchdown. You could have easily said that would have been Ebron's 3rd touchdown.
But yeah, going forward, now that T.Y. Hilton's a little bit healthier, he's back playing a little bit. This team is deadly offensive, and I don't think a lot of people realize this. They're 3-5, but that's because, teams are beating them by putting up a lot of points to beat them. The Jets had to score 42 points to beat them. The Pats beat them, and they had to score 38. The Texans had to score 37. Like these teams are beating them because they're putting up high numbers, because the Colts have good offense, but their defense, their secondary struggles a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Their defense is bad.
A lot of teams can throw all over them.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the ball, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think ever since they lost to the Texans 2 or 3 weeks ago, their locker room has been kind of, a shit show to say the least. I think they're kind of turning into like the Giants locker room, where they're just fighting with each other all the time, blaming this guy, blaming that guy. And, Blake.
And I think that comes a lot with both the teams, like you mentioned, with the Giants, is the struggle behind center with the QBs. I mean, if your QB's struggling, and that's supposed to be your leader, and these aren't 2 rookie QBs, these are 2 veterans, that it's hard for a team to kind of rally behind, because you're seeing games that you could win, and then an errant pass here and errant pass there, and it becomes frustrating, and I understand it. Especially a team that lives off of, the defense. Seeing your offense struggle like that is completely demoralizing.
Oh, absolutely. And when you start getting, Blake Bortles isn't a top tier quarterback. I won't even say he's top 10. I don't even think he's top 15. But when your locker room is like turning their backs on your quarterback, even though he's not a good quarterback, it's not good. It's not good. And it brings you down, and I think that's kind of where they're at right now. So we'll see. If they beat the Colts, I have the Colts winning, but if they beat the Colts, be 4-5, they can start making a push. Texans might start.
Absolutely could.
Texans might start walking away with this division if they win. Are they even playing this week?
And I mean, interestingly enough, looking at their Bortles yardage, he's only at about 120 yards less than Andrew Luck is on the season. But Andrew Luck has 13 more touchdowns than he does, and they're tied for interceptions. So that just shows you, like, the Jacksonville Jaguars are not getting it done down in the red zone either.
It just goes to show you that they really need Leonard Fournette. I mean, that's the thing. The Colts just now got Marlon Mack, and that's why Andrew Luck needed to throw as many touchdowns as he has all year. And so the Jags have neither a quarterback or had a running back that could rack up touchdowns.
Right.
Exactly.
All right.
We'll
NFC.
see where they go from here.
You guys both got the Colts winning, or what's going on there? All right. Next game, Lions versus Bears. The 3-5 Lions in Chicago versus the 5-3 Bears. This is an NFC North mashup. This is gonna be interesting. Last week we kind of saw a demoralized offense with the first game without Tate in like 5 years or whatever, and it kind of shows. Earlier this season I was talking about how the Lions have probably one of the most dynamic, best receiving core in the NFL, and with the loss of Golden Tate, it's going to be a struggle going forth. We're going to see, that now that the second safety on each team is going to be going against Galladay, we're going to see if Galladay can really step up and take that position. There's no denying that this team is going to be Kenny Galladay and Kerryon Johnson's team going forward. But it's going to be hard. And playing in Chicago, it's starting to get a little colder. I know both teams are pretty used to this. It's going to be a struggle. Defensively, not to mention Stafford got sacked 10 times last week. 10 times. Before that, he was one of the lowest sacked players in the season. He only had 13 sacks. And one of the least pressured quarterbacks in the season. And now he's one of the highest, all in the course of one game where he got sacked 10 times. But, good news is the defensive line is starting to look okay against the run with the addition of Damon Harrison. He's played 2 games, already has 12 tackles and a sack. I believe, yeah. So, he's doing really good work. We saw a rare occurrence with, oh boy, what's his name? What's that dude's name? I can't even think of his name because he barely plays. His first game was last week, and he hasn't played since. Ezekiel Ansah, that's his name. I can't even think of his name because he barely plays. Yeah, barely even plays. And so, like, I don't know. I got the Bears winning this game. Scratch that. Lions. Picking the Lions.
I know it's hard to say, but you got to know in your heart the Bears are winning this game. In your heart and in your head.
Yeah, I mean, I got the Bears as well. It's just the Bears last week, they showed that this defense can put up, like, this team can put up 41 points when their quarterback only throws for 1 touchdown and 135 yards, and their leading rusher only had 45 yards or 47 yards. So their offense can get, just under 200 yards or just over 200 yards of total offense, and they could still put up 41 points. Like, that just speaks numbers, or loads to how good this defense is. And like you said, the struggles the Lions had last week against the Vikings. And the Vikings defense, well, I would give the nod to the Bears defense being better. Luckily, though, the Bears' weakest spots are in their cornerback positions. So Lions are definitely a passing team, so that could help. But with how cold it is and the snow and everything, it's going to be Bears.
Stafford's going to have no time to throw anyway. So,
yeah. Take it from me. Khalil Mack is in your face instantly from watching that first game.
Yeah, I mean,
he's back and he's healthy, and it's not going to look good.
It's not going to look good. We'll see. Oh man, this Bears team is so good. And if the Bears win, which there's a good chance they win, this is going to be when we start seeing a team in the NFC North possibly pulling away. The easiest part of the Bears schedule, I think, is behind them. They've played the Bills already, the Jets already, the Bucks, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the Packers. Going forward, they have to play the Rams still, the Packers again, the Vikings twice, the Lions twice.
I wouldn't say that the Bears can just pull away because, the Vikings are right there, and the Vikings looked really good. I mean, they played against the Lions, who were weak at all the spots they're strong at, but the Vikings just have a good all-around team. They're a Super Bowl contender coming into the year. And there's no reason to think that they couldn't win this division.
Yeah, and they're coming off a bye week, so not
people to get
healthy
on a bye
week,
guys to get situated again.
Right, and it's tough. The Bears do have they're going Lions, Vikings, Lions. That's 3 division games in a row. This week and next week is both at home, but next week they're coming off, or they're playing the Vikings, who are on a bye week this week. So, they have 2 weeks to prepare against the Vikings or the Bears. Then they're going to Lions, Ford Field, which can be a hard place to play at. Typically hasn't been recently. I don't know. I'm going to say the Lions still, just because, but I'll take one.
Gotta have faith.
You gotta.
One down with the ship.
I'm not gonna go against them ever, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. The Saints 7-1 taking on the Bengals 5-3. Go for it.
Just with how well I got to go Saints on this one. I mean, they're doing what they did last year, where in the beginning of the year, their defense looked weak. The offense, I mean, it's Drew Brees, so the offense always looks good. But now they've hit their stride. The defense is there, able to make the stops when they need to. And Drew Brees is playing at an MVP level. I mean, he's just being phenomenal. He's going out for blood. And I don't see the Bengals. I was hoping they'd be coming in the AFC North and be able to win it, but just they don't have the team to beat this Saints team. And I knew AJ Green was injured, so I don't know if he's still injured or not. But
AJ Green's not going to play this week. May not play for a few weeks.
Yikes.
Yeah, so there you go. They're missing their top receiver, and the Saints are, the Saints.
Exactly.
Man, watching that game last week between the Saints and the Rams, I think that game was
the Saints are legit.
I think that game was as exciting as everyone thought it was going to be. I think 3 out of the 4 of us, with Tyler being the only exception, had the Rams winning, and the Saints had no problem marching that ball down the field against this amazing defense in the Rams.
Yeah. They knew their weakness and they went after it. I mean, their coach called it this week.
I don't know what the Rams were expecting, but what they got was a ton of Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas. If you're playing the Saints, you'd think you'd shift everything towards stopping those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. And they had Dez Bryant signed with them too. He might have tore his Achilles. I don't know if that's been confirmed or denied yet. They had to carry him off the field today, which is kind of funny. Also kind of sad.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
it's really sad.
He spent
2 days of practice and
spent all year looking for a team.
I did hear that they may be going after Brandon Marshall as well, trying to bring another veteran receiver in.
They worked him out. The Lions worked Brandon Marshall out as well, but the Saints and the Lions worked him out. So that would make sense.
That'd be a good addition for the Saints. Be a good addition to both teams, to be honest. But when you look at this team, even though unfortunately they lost Dez Bryant, they never really had Dez Bryant to begin with, and they're still really good, like really, really good.
They're still Super Bowl contenders. Dez Bryant just made it to that next level, but they're still right there.
They just need wide receiver depth. I mean, Cam Meredith, who was their slot guy, and he's a veteran, he went on IR last week. So they just need another wide receiver to fill out their depth chart, really.
Yeah.
Their starter, I mean, really their starting, I say depth chart, but whoever comes in is going to be starting immediately.
Right. Man. I always forget they have Teddy Bridgewater on their team.
Well, it's because they use Taysom Hill as a running back / QB / receiver.
Yeah, I feel like that's way too gimmicky. I don't get it. Like I get it. Maybe they're trying to preserve the health of the running backs and Drew Brees by having this guy out there and just run him into the big guys in the goal line. But the time when they do it, when they're not at the goal line, it's too gadgety for me. It's just, you have one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Just let him get to third down.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when he's in the game and he's lining up on center, it's 90% chance that he's going to take the ball and run with it.
Yeah, and he's.
Well, I don't understand. They always split Drew Brees out wide as if that's going to trick anyone. I don't know. I don't know why they even do that.
Right. Oh man. Speaking of one of the best quarterbacks of all time, the Patriots 7-2. Oh wait, you guys got the Saints winning, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah. There's not much to say about that. The Bengals, like you said, they don't have AJ Green. One thing to note, the Saints are worse when they're not at home, but they're not bad, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
Exactly.
They are going a little bit north to Ohio, Cincinnati. I don't know if they got snow, but I don't think that's going to really make a difference. A lot of people are like, oh, these players don't play in snow. And it's like half these players didn't grow up in snow anyway, so I don't think it really matters. But I want to go back to my segue though. Speaking of one of the best quarterbacks of all time, the Patriots 7-2 versus the Titans 4-4. Who do you guys got winning this game?
Titans. No, I'm just kidding. It's Patriots. I mean, Tom Brady is he's Tom Brady. I mean, there's not much more you could say. He's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to play the game. They have the greatest coach to ever coach the game, at least in modern history. And
Matt Patricia's on the Lions.
Sony Michel may be coming back. This team, it doesn't matter who their weapons are. They could go out, pick a fan from the stands, and they'll turn them into a superstar. They're just, I don't know how you stop that offense.
Well, the Lions did. So we got not only is Tom Brady, 67%, we also got Julian Edelman, who's 100% on the season. Let's not forget that in terms of passing, 1 for 1. But, realistically, Tom Brady and this offense look amazing. I heard they're already looking to possibly trade Josh Gordon. I don't know how true that source was. It was on Reddit. But, Gronkowski.
I also saw that they were going to sign him to a first-round tenature or something.
Really?
Like the compensation. That would save him about $5 million as well.
That's crazy.
Wow.
But, Tom Brady is sitting at 17 touchdowns, 67% on the season, 7 interceptions. Gronkowski, I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to play. If he's not careful, he's going to have, he's already going to have serious injuries the rest of his life.
He's going to have back injuries the rest of his life if he tries to play another year. He needs to just
be
stop
done
after this year. He already contemplated retirement, and it's just been bad all year. He's not the same guy. I think they know it because they don't have him run as many routes as he used to run. They have him block a lot more, and other guys like James White are getting more catches this year, and his Edelman's there. They have enough of their weapons. They don't need to use Gronk like that, and I really think he should retire.
I do too.
I agree. I think he should take the Rock's suggestion and go into acting or something, because
Absolutely.
He's going to hurt himself.
Yeah.
Like you said. And
I mean,
yeah, it's not going to be pretty.
This team without Gronk will still do really well. They did really well against the Packers without Gronk. And
they don't like you said, they can make anybody. They'll find a way to win. They'll take any of their weapons and they'll put it together in a game plan and they'll all score.
Yeah. And the Tennessee Titans on the, Mark, if Rob was here, he'd be talking shit about Marcus Mariota. He does not like him for some reason. He only has 5 touchdowns on the season, 5 interceptions. What I
don't like about him is he doesn't try to do anything. I understand trying to be risk adverse, but he just doesn't. He lets plays just die. Sometimes you gotta try to force something.
Yeah, exactly. He only had, like I said, he only has 5 touchdowns on the season, and the Titans did beat the Cowboys. The Titans did beat the Jags, but there's no way they're beating the Patriots. There's no way.
Well, no, we should say Mike Vrabel, just like Matt Patricia, learned from Belichick. So maybe there's some kind of student beating the teacher thing again, but I doubt it because the Titans just aren't that good. They're a competent team. It's like I said about the Redskins earlier. I think that the Titans win games just because they do enough. They don't have a high ceiling, but they have a high floor. I mean, they can run the ball. I don't know if you watched them play the Cowboys, but they had crazy time of possession. They get these 10-minute drives, so the other team doesn't get the ball back. And if the Titans end up scoring, they win a game 20-17.
Right. I mean, defensively, they're doing okay. 20 sacks, 6 interceptions. But I don't know. There's something weird about the Tennessee Titans. I often honestly forget they're even a football team half the time. Like when we talk about football, I'm never like, yeah, the Tennessee Titans. Let's talk about them.
I mean, we are talking about a team that won their division last year, and they've won a playoff game with Marcus Mariota. They've won 2 playoff games with Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
So this is an accomplished team. Yeah. Nobody thinks about them because they're boring and they're not that good.
Yeah, and I'll say screw Marcus Mariota again one more time for Rob since he's not here.
Well, I mean that whole draft class. You think back to that draft class? Well, it was Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston, and they had so much hype going around those two.
Played each other in the college football
championship
playoff. Yeah. I think it was the game before the championship.
Yeah, and
either way, they were both explosive quarterbacks in college.
And now it's just the way it's translated has been, Winston's fighting for a job to Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Mariota is just. He's had a few cool plays like he had a couple years ago, an 80-yard touchdown run. And then last year in the playoffs, he caught his own pass for a touchdown. But
I forgot about that.
Like you said, he's kind of boring to watch.
Even that game was so boring. They won that playoff game, and that was the most exciting thing that happened. And it was like an accident because the defender blocked it down to him. Like,
exactly. They don't do it. They don't win in a cool way. They win by just running down the clock and kicking field goals. It's just like,
Oh, man. So who you guys got winning? Pats?
Pats.
All right, so I think I'm going to – this next game, Falcons 4-4 going to Cleveland to take on the 2-6-1 Browns. Julio Jones finally got his first touchdown. I think he was almost the first player to have 1,000 yards with 0 touchdowns. But – I might be wrong there.
Way to screw that up, Julio.
Way to screw that up. It was a nice screen pass. It might have been like 30, 40 yards screen pass to him. And, he's doing really well. He's doing great for me in fantasy football. That's for damn sure. And
Julio, this Falcons offense, they're running into the same problem that they had a couple of years ago when they made their Super Bowl run, where the offense is, performing, but then the defense is not performing. And I think that's where their biggest struggles is on that defense again, and they've had quite a few injuries that to their secondary and stuff. But that being said, I still think the Browns, there's been improvements this year, obviously, with Baker Mayfield behind center, but it's still the Falcons' game, I believe. The Browns have been into a lot of close ones, but I think the veterans on the Falcons side will be able to pull this one away.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair assessment. I don't think anyone thought the Falcons were only going to be 4-4 at this point in the season. I think it's pretty obvious how bad Devontae Freeman being injured is hurting this offense. They're relying too heavily on, Julio Jones, Tevin Coleman. He's doing all right. Tevin Coleman's doing all right. Devontae Freeman had 68 yards in the season in 2 games. One of them, which he injured himself pretty bad. And, that offense relies on Calvin Ridley. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. This is obviously Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and Devontae Freeman's team. But Calvin Ridley has 7 touchdowns on the season. And I don't think a lot of people even think about Calvin Ridley a lot when they think of this Falcons team.
I think about him in DraftKings all the time.
I was going to say, he was at the beginning of the year, he was early contender for Rookie of the Year. I mean, you look at, obviously, Saquon Barkley exists, but
yeah,
Calvin Ridley was catching touchdowns like it was his only job. It was
well,
ridiculous.
This is his only job.
Put him and Coolio together, and they would have been the perfect receiver. It's just
right.
He was just the opposite end of that. Yeah, he's continued it. He looks good. I mean, him and Julio can play next to each other for a few years at least going forward.
Yeah, and when they get their running back back, whenever Freeman comes back, I think this will be another team to, a really good contender. As of right now, they do play in one of the hardest divisions in the NFC South.
It's probably the hardest. I mean, the NFC North is there, but I think that Panthers, Saints, so top heavy. It's hard to beat those teams.
Exactly. Like the North is definitely competitive, but when you look at the tiers of what the teams are playing at, the South definitely outranks us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to get a win there. Even the Bucks are kind of a hard team to get a win against.
Yeah, I mean, because like we said, they have that super high ceiling that any given moment they could just blow up.
But I mean, that's the NFC North and the NFC South. I would argue that 6 of the top 10 quarterbacks come from those 2 divisions alone, and.
Oh yeah, you could very well make that argument for the NFC.
And Trubisky in a couple years might be top 15. He has more touchdowns on the season than both Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford. Is he a top tier quarterback? I don't know. It's second year, but
that hurts.
That hurts. It really does. That should not be the case.
I'm chalking that up completely to the fact that we called him out on this podcast, and we're all Packers and Lions fans.
Yeah, we did call him out. I mean, all I said was if he squeezes into the top 15, if he starts making better decisions, that's a Super Bowl caliber team.
Yeah, then I think the next game he dropped 5 or 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was like the next day. It was insane. But where were we? The Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield, I think this is going to be huge for the Browns. Baker Mayfield has 10 touchdowns on the season, 7 interceptions. A lot of those interceptions, you can chalk up to rookie mistakes. That being said, I think we're in a spot where we're going to see the Browns not have to draft a quarterback for the time being. And that's going to be huge for the Browns. They have like a bunch of picks next year. And I think they're going to finally start being able to like increase their depth of their team. They got Nick Chubb, who's doing really well. Carlos Hyde getting traded. Nick Chubb started taking the majority of the carries, and he's been doing really well. 63 yard touchdown, I believe, on the season, and then he had, he's averaging 5.4 yards per carry, which is pretty decent. Not great.
Yards per carry is super skewed, but still impressive because he had like 10 yards per carry before Carlos Hyde got traded because it seemed like every time they handed him the ball, he ended up with like a 70-yard touchdown.
I mean, that's the difference between playing, running by commission and running one running back, though, right? You look at Kerryon Johnson from the Detroit Lions, and a lot of Detroit Lions fans are hyped up on this guy, and I am too. But he was always in plays where Nick Chubb does the same thing, where they're designed for that one player to get far. Now he has to go 1st and 10, run right through the center, and he's gonna get hit. That's just how it's going to go down.
Those like runs right into the line, those kill your yards per average. But at the same time, if you got if the back is good, he's the kind of guy who's either going to be breaking down that line or you're putting him up against that line just so that when he gets that hole, he's gone.
Right.
You want it to be like 1 yard, 50 yards, 1 yard, 1 yard,
Yeah, exactly. But I'm actually going to go with the Browns in this game. I think.
I feel like you pick the Browns every week.
I didn't. I've only picked them twice, and I think they won both games. So, like, what are you talking about? The Browns. I like the Browns because they are playing in Cleveland, and that's why I'm gonna go with the Browns. It is hard to play in Cleveland. For some reason, they have one of the most loyal fan bases in the world. I don't know how you go 0-16 a season and still sell out tickets the next year. Makes no sense.
Yeah. Can't take away from those fans, that's for sure.
And I think we're gonna see a rare, really good team or good game out of this Browns team this week. They're overdue for a good game. And I think a lot of people see them losing out the rest of the season. They have a pretty hard schedule going forward, I believe. Yeah, they play the Bengals, the Texans, the Panthers, the Broncos, the Bengals, and the Ravens. They probably can beat the Ravens. I think they already beat them once. I might be wrong on that. Nope, I'm right. And, so going forward, they have a pretty hard schedule. I think they're going to be able to beat this Falcons team. And I think it's going to be, I'm going to make a rare prediction. I think they're going to win by, at least 10 points.
Wow. I'll say I see this game coming down to the wire, probably being pretty close. But like I said, the veterans on the Falcons side, I think will be able to pull this one away.
I think it's going to be high scoring because if the Falcons are in a game, it's usually going to be high scoring. But the Browns, they have enough firepower to go against the Falcons' weakened offense or defense. But I just think the Falcons, their offense is better than the Browns' defense.
Yeah, I mean, Landry's been looking really good this year. I mean, he has become reliable for Baker Mayfield to go to.
Their tight end Njoku's really athletic, and he's been playing well too. And like you mentioned, Nick Chubb's been playing well. I mean, the Browns,
Nick Chubb.
they have really good pieces all over the place. I mean, you talk about how they'll have a lot of draft picks going forward. They've had a lot of draft picks coming into this. I know they wasted a lot trying to get good quarterbacks, but they've also had high picks they used on defensive players, like Denzel Ward from Ohio State last year. He's instantly come in and been a really good cornerback. And Myles Garrett the year before that was their number 1 overall pick, and he's a monster.
Right. Yeah, so I think a lot of people think this Cleveland Browns team is still the Cleveland Browns, and I don't think so. And it's going to be different. I mean, you look at the first round draft picks, a lot of them are bust, whatever. But when you don't have to pick a quarterback who could be hit or miss every single year, we're going to see, some real good talent coming on this team. And I'm excited for this Browns team. They're in the AFC, so we don't really have to deal with them. But I'm excited. I kind of like the Browns. They're an 0-16 team.
Definitely years to come. I think this is like their transition year. They finally got the pieces, and now they're going to start coming together. If they get a head coach, I mean, Bruce Arians from Arizona said he only wants to coach the Browns, and if he goes there,
any coach that steps in, that's immediately a great spot to be in. This is literally where the Rams were just a couple of years ago, where they have all the talent being really young and ready to break out, and you get to be that guy who comes in and uses them in the right way. I mean, you're saying the Browns are going to get more talent. I think they have enough talent. I think they have it all. I think they still are the way that we think of the Browns, as they don't have enough. They're going to be losers. But yeah, it's a transition year. They have enough players. They'll be good next year.
Yeah, and if Bruce Arians, I mean, if he comes out and says the only team he wants to coach is the Browns, that makes me think he has a game plan already set that he can do, that he wants to do with that team.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a really good coach.
Yeah, if I was their GM, I would be calling him yesterday.
Right?
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
All right. So you guys got the Falcons. I got the Browns. 6-2 Chargers going to Oakland. Take on the 1-7 Raiders. AFC West.
This is a game where we always, we've talked about a few times how the Chargers are kind of on the back burner and no one talks about them. But unlike the Redskins and the Titans, it's not because they aren't talented or they don't. They're not boring. They're an explosive team. They're very fun to watch. It's just
you got the
they're
Chiefs.
in the same division as the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
And, it's hard to compete with Patrick Mahomes. But this Chargers team, they're here to play. That's for damn sure. Joey Bosa is going to be coming back here in the next few weeks, and that defense is going to turn, start having some upside play. I'm actually starting their defense this week in both fantasy and in DraftKings because this Raiders team is just.
I'm doing the same. I think that the Raiders are that bad. Even without Joey Bosa, I think that the Raiders are that bad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if what John Gruden's trying to do, if he's trying to change the culture of that team or what, but that team is lost. There's like that game. They went against a third string quarterback last week, and they got me -1 points. Like,
I hate to cut you guys off, but Rob just joined the chat on Twitch, and he said, "Fuck Mariota, poop emoji, Trubinsky with an N." So, anyway, you guys can continue.
Yeah, this Chargers team, they're too explosive. I mean, you got Gordon, Allen, Rivers. It's a great team, great combination of veterans to rival that Kansas City Chiefs team. If that defense gets turned around, they're going to definitely be.
Lightning
We could,
bolt.
like, the 4 game. We could definitely see a Kansas City Chargers game in the playoffs as well. They could face the Chiefs 3 times this year.
Yeah. So, Phillip Rivers has 19 touchdowns. I don't think like you said, he's in the same time as Kermit Mahomes. I'm never gonna call him Showtime, by the way, even though we don't have Tate anymore. He's in the same. He has 19 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. 1.2 interception ratio. That's really, really good.
If you look at MVP gambling odds, they go Mahomes, Gurley, Breeze, Goff, and then Rivers.
So top 5.
Yeah, he's right there. Like he's been playing really well this year.
Yeah, and I would like to see Gurley get it, just because I don't remember the last time someone wasn't a quarterback that got it.
2012 Adrian Peterson.
Oh, well, there you go. Fucking Mr. Stats over here in history. So, yeah.
That was it was a long time ago, a whole different league ago. The league was a completely different place.
Oh yeah.
6 years ago. I mean, the 60s doesn't sound that long, but you can think back. 2012 was a totally different game. And
Right.
Quarterbacks are the only ones that win the MVP now. It's stupid, but that's just how it goes.
On the other side of the ball, is Rob likes to say, the Raiders are a dumpster fire. I'll say it. The Raiders are a dumpster fire. You don't win one game in they're arguably the worst team in the NFL right now. Their quarterback, I think, is overrated. I'm sorry if anyone actually listens to this who's a Raiders fan, but your quarterback's overrated. Marshawn Lynch, he's doing really well. I'll give Marshawn Lynch that. I really like Marshawn Lynch as a player, as a person. I think he's really good, really explosive. I liked him in Seattle.
Now,
Is he?
Well, he's not retired, but he's on IR.
Oh, well,
And,
then fuck
before
me,
you
huh?
Go on and you're shitting on Derek Carr. Derek Carr 2 years ago was an MVP candidate.
All right, but Derek Carr now
not even
isn't.
joking. I don't know that's what I'm saying. I don't know what happened. Go back, if you just Google Derek Carr MVP, you'll see articles about how Derek Carr saved the Raiders and how great he was. I don't know what has happened since then. I know their offensive line played bad last year and everyone thought it was that. But
you know why I don't
we
like
are
Derek
again.
Carr? I'll tell you why I don't like Derek Carr. Because the Lions fan in me, 2 years ago when he was that MVP caliber quarterback, he had, he got injured and he's afraid, says our Robbie. But 2 years ago, he had 8 comebacks or something
did
like
have
that.
a bad injury.
Stafford had 9 comebacks. And they were saying Derek Carr was the comeback king. Like, get the fuck out of here. News outlets who shit on the Lions. That's why I don't like him.
That's why you hate Derek Carr.
Yeah, and that's why this
they did
year.
the same thing for Tim Tebow in his rookie season too.
Yeah, but Tim Tebow is awesome. He started a meme.
Why don't you hate Tim Tebow?
He beat the Steelers in the playoffs. That's all you need.
So that's all you need to. He takes a comeback king title from Stafford, but as long as he beats the Steelers, it's good.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Well, I guess Marshawn Lynch is injured, so there goes that. That sucks. I hope is that his career ending? How do you get injured?
It was a few weeks ago.
Man, Red Dead Redemption.
They put him on the IR. He had a groin injury. He tried to play through it. It just wouldn't go away, so they just put him on the IR.
Yeah, like he hasn't announced his retirement yet, but it's.
Do they still got Doug Martin then?
Their running back is Doug Martin.
Yep.
Yeah, who every other year was a Pro Bowl running back. but the years in between he was terrible, and he hasn't. And this would have been that off year, I guess, or the year for him to be good, but he hasn't done it yet. So
I'll tell you what, though. I
think he's washed up.
Jordy Nelson's doing really well down there. 353 yards, 3 touchdowns. It kind of sucks going from a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers to shitty Derek Carr, but you know it happens. So,
a lot of people were saying the Jags should have traded for Derek Carr the week before they were going into their bye, because Bortles was playing so bad and the Raiders were selling everybody. It's like, go grab Derek Carr. Maybe he'll turn back into what he was on your team.
Yeah. Maybe. I think the Jags should go after Teddy Bridgewater personally, but I don't know if the Pats will give him up. I don't know. Oh man, who did we lose? But you guys still there? Testing. You guys still there?
Yeah,
I'm here.
All right. Got disconnected real quick, but I think the Jags should go after Teddy Bridgewater or Tyrod Taylor, personally. So
say Bridgewater. Like I liked Bridgewater when he first came into the league. I was rooting for the guy. I think he's too injury prone. I mean, he's got a small frame. They called it when he was first getting drafted that. I mean, maybe in a free agent signing, but I don't know if I'd give up a lot of draft picks for him.
It'd be hard to rely on him for sure. Durability. It'd be like an RG3 situation all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
If he can't hold up, you're losing your quarterback is way too big of a hit.
Yeah.
But I think Tyrod Taylor would be good. I think they still want to go with Bortles. I mean, I don't blame
him.
He took him to the AFC Championship game. He was a big part of why they got there last year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right, but after this year, I mean, he's always been kind of mediocre, and then he had the good year last year, but now he's kind of regressed back.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they actually showed that they didn't really care that much about him. They gave him a big contract, but none of the money was guaranteed. None of it.
Yeah.
So they can really just cut him loose at any point.
I'd say if I was them, I would be looking for a quarterback in the next draft too, and try to do kind of what the Chiefs did. I mean, I don't know, Bortles is as good as Alex Smith to be looking at or coaching behind, but get some sort of young QB there to start learning the system.
Right. If you get a guy even half as good as Mahomes to starting with, they have a lot of good receivers. D.D. Westbrook, Keelan Cole, Marquise Lee will be back by then. Dante Moncrief, if they re-sign him. But with that defense, it would be the Chicago Bears, what they are right now, with a maybe better defense.
Which would be insane, but
I think they could pull that off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So you guys got the Chargers winning that game?
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. So, moving forward, 4-4 Seahawks going to LA to take on the 8-1 Rams, NFC West. The Rams are coming off a defeat. The Seahawks are starting to come into stride, I think. I think this is going to be a decent game, all things considered.
It was last time they played.
This is one of those divisional games, that they're crazy all the time.
I think we were all expecting a blowout last time. The Seahawks really weren't who they are now, and I think that changed with this game. With the first time they played, and
agreed.
I think they realized they can compete with a Super Bowl contending Rams team, and then they went on. They beat the Raiders. They beat the Lions. They lost to the Chargers, but like we were saying, Chargers. Phillip Rivers is a very explosive team right now. So, it'll be. I think it's gonna be an interesting game. I think the Rams are gonna win. The Rams just have too many weapons offensively and defensively. They lost to the Saints, but it's hard to play in New Orleans. It's hard to play against Drew Brees. Todd Gurley, you were just saying he's possible MVP candidate. I think he's going to continue doing that. But, Seattle Seahawks, I'm going to talk about the Seattle Seahawks a little bit more because I think a lot of people are talking about the Rams. And I'm a number 12 fan for the Seahawks. That's an inside joke for Rob who's watching. And I really like Russell Wilson. I don't really like the Seahawks much. I like Russell Wilson as a player. I kind of wish he was on a different team so I could root for him a little bit. But, he has 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Really doing really well.
I was gonna say this is what a team looks like after you have to pay the quarterback. He was the Mitch Trubisky. He was the Jared Goff of the Seattle Seahawks when they could pay all the defensive players and have a superstar defense and have a young quarterback making nothing who was playing well. Once you pay those guys, you can't afford the defensive players anymore, and your team turns into this.
Yeah,
and actually, I want to add on to that because one of the reasons it's not that I don't like Russell Wilson, but one of the reasons that I don't, it's because of that, because he got paid. Like the reason that they won those Super Bowl and got back the next year was because of that defense. And then they paid the quarterback. And now it's led to all these quarterbacks are being paid ridiculous amounts of money. Like he's where it all started.
I mean,
and it's obviously
he was the next one up.
And
you have to pay.
You can say it was all because of the defense, the Legion of Boom, but when he's still putting up 4,000 yards passing and
but that's easy when your defense gets you on the field after 4 plays every time.
I mean, sure, but there's a lot of teams with really good defenses who aren't putting up 4,000 yards.
I'm not saying I think he's a easily top 15 quarterback, and you could even make arguments for top 10.
I think people make arguments for top 5.
He's a playmaker.
Talent-wise, yeah, he's been injured this year. He's just now getting healthy. I think you can see it with his crazy touchdown rate. I mean, he doesn't have all these weapons. His best receivers. He lost Golden Tate years ago. Doug Baldwin emerged, but he's been had health issues all year, and now he's injured fully again. I think Russell Wilson is making the best out of his situation. He is, top 5 talent at the position.
Oh yeah,
but
I agree. Talent-wise, he's absolutely he's a playmaker for 100% sure. Yeah.
Now,
but then going up against this Rams team, I don't think a lot of people have been talking about it. I mean, obviously they talk about Lattimore getting burned and everything, but this defense, with how good that front line is and how good this defense is, or on paper is, they have allowed a lot of points in some games. And the Saints and the Saints showed last week, in order to beat this Rams team, you need to go pound for pound from them and outscore. You just need to be a high octane offense. And I don't this Seattle offense is Russell Wilson right now, and I don't see him being able to put up that type of points against the Rams.
Another thing that I think we need to talk about is the defensive line on the Rams versus the Seattle Seahawks offensive line. I think it's going to be very lopsided.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson has been sacked 25 times, which, by the way, shows how good of a quarterback he is when he only has 5 interceptions and gets pressured that much. But, with, Ndamukong Suh, with
Aaron Donald,
and they just added what's his name?
Fowler.
Dante Fowler.
Yeah, Dante Fowler.
Dante Fowler has not been good. He was kind of a bust for where he was drafted, but he was drafted really high, and now you put him next to those guys, and the game's probably a lot easier than it was.
Yeah, I mean, when you got 2 guys or both need a double team apiece,
exactly,
it leaves you with the scraps.
When
he's immediately shining in that game.
Yeah, he picked up a tackle and a assisted tackle, and I think he only played a handful of downs. He was still fresh to the team.
I should actually real quick note on that. The Rams defensive line is really good. That just shows how well the Saints offensive line played last week. There was no sacks, and I think there was only 3 hits and rushed plays, like hurried plays from Breeze because of pressure, the Saints offensive line played that Rams defensive line perfectly.
They also got, everyone in that offensive line was listed on injury report this week.
Yeah, they all got that practice off.
Yeah,
because I think it's because of that.
They completely dominated this Rams defense. Makes no sense.
Which is crazy.
Breeze better be buying him a trip to Hawaii for Christmas.
Seriously. So I actually have the Rams winning this game. I think they're gonna go to 9-1. It's in LA. Seahawks, I think their chance to beat the Rams was earlier this season when it was in Seattle, which is probably one of the hardest places to play at. But, now that we're going to LA, now it's going to be a little bit different. I think the Rams are just going to walk away with it. And they're coming off a loss. They're going to be kind of upset, I think.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be going out for blood. Also to note, the NFL is paying attention to the wildfires in the area. So there is a potential for changes to the games out in California because of the wildfires.
Are they going to go back to Seattle? Because that'd be fucked.
I don't know, or if they'd go to kind of like the Lions hosted a game a few years back.
Oh, yeah, the Bills.
I forgot. Or, yeah, for the Tampa Bay, I think, where they gave out tickets. I don't know if they do something like that or what.
It was the Bills, and, that's because their Bills owner grew up in Detroit, so I think they're kind of close with the organization. He's dead now.
I think that happened multiple times. I think the Vikings had a situation like that too, where they were giving away the tickets, because I remember trying to get those tickets and a lot of Vikings fans being mad that a lot of Lions fans just showed up to take them.
I mean, what do you expect?
What are you gonna do? They're free NFL tickets. So.
All right.
Dude, I would go to free NFL game any team. Even the Jets Bills.
I don't care.
Jets Bills.
I would go to the 49ers Giants game. That's gonna be terrible on Monday.
Why is that not fun? Can they not flex out Monday night
Cowboys tickets and burn them, but
you want to go to a Cowboys game? I'd go to a Cowboys game.
Depends who they're if they're facing someone that get their asses beat. Yeah, I'd go to a Cowboys game.
That's like everybody this season.
Watch them get their ass beat.
They suck, so that's not a problem.
But their offense is borderline Rams.
Yeah, we're all going Rams for sure.
Oh yeah, Rams.
Man, Rob just was spamming a bunch of emojis. Got all his comments deleted by my bot. Good job.
Banned.
Speaking of Rob, we're gonna talk about the Dolphins 5-4 versus the Packers 3-4-1 in Lambeau.
Yeah, so being in Lambeau, this is definitely in the Packers' favor. This season, it's been a struggle. I mean, it's been a struggle all season, and then we had a sliver of hope during the Rams game, and then obviously the fumble by Ty Montgomery didn't help, but it showed me and it got me excited. I'm sure a lot of fans felt this way. They're like, all right, our defense actually kept up with, the Rams, offense, was off, but they were still able to make plays. And then the next day, Clayton Dix gets traded. And then it's just this big, huge gap in our safety. And I think since then we have signed 2 safeties. We released Whitehead, who got picked up by the Browns this week. And our team is just, Cobb said it like I saw he had a comment and he said we've lost before. We've been in this situation before, back when everybody remembers Rodgers' slogan, relax. But it feels different this year. Like nothing seems to be clicking. Like there doesn't really seem to be much upside to our team right now, and some sort of changes need to happen. I mean,
new coaching staff would probably help.
Wide receivers have looked really good, but some of our veterans like Cobb and other people aren't making the plays that we need. We're not running Aaron Jones as much as I think we need to. This Dolphins team, they've been hit or miss. I mean, but coming into Lambeau, I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with us. And I think this is a must-win game. Every game from here on out is must-win for us.
Absolutely is for the Packers.
Yeah, McCarthy wants to keep his job. This team needs to turn around quick.
And I think I speak for the rest of us in the NFC North when I say I hope he keeps his job.
I was gonna say maybe the players shouldn't try as hard then.
So yeah, the Packers are 3-1.
I actually would win this game even if they was in Miami. I just think they are better than the Dolphins.
Who's going to be the starting quarterback? Do you guys know? Is it going to be Osweiler still?
I believe so. I haven't heard anything on.
I think so.
I read that Tannehill wasn't expected back yet.
Last week we were talking on, Rob was here, you guys were both gone, and we were talking about the Rams. It was when they played the Rams, the Packers-Rams. And, I said this Packers team was going to be close. I said it was going to be a close game between the Rams and the Packers. I think a lot of people were expecting the Packers to get blown out simply because the Rams. And I said the Packers were going to do some dumb shit and lose the game in some weird Packers way. And that was the game Ty Montgomery dropped the ball, which I think was a blessing in disguise for this Packers team. Because
you could definitely make that argument. I'd agree with that.
So we got Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, right? That's your guys' other running back, Jamal Williams. And now that you don't have Ty Montgomery in a scheme that's, systematically proven that it runs, by commission. Ty Montgomery, 26, attempts on the season. Now all those attempts are going to be split between Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, I think, is an incredibly explosive running back who doesn't get a lot of credit in the NFL outside of the Packers fan base simply because he doesn't get the carries to get the recognition.
Actually, I think he gets tons of credit. I think the only person who doesn't seem to understand it is Mike McCarthy.
I mean,
100. Like I don't. He's got to be screwing his wife. That's the only explanation I can
seriously.
come up with.
Everyone's calling for Aaron Jones. Just give him the ball. Like, advanced metrics show that he's just ridiculously efficient. Eye test shows that he's just the better running back. I don't understand it. I think he's going to have a huge game because this is the team that Carry-On blew up against. There's a bunch of other running backs. Tariq Cohen for the Bears. So many quick, shifty guys have just killed the Dolphins. So I think Aaron Jones is going to go off this week.
And that's how I'm editing my DraftKings lineup
now. Also, I think it's going to be a blessing in disguise simply because Aaron Jones is going to get the majority of those yards. And Kerryon Johnson blew up against the Patriots in week 3. He blew up again against the Dolphins. You're correct, but it was the Patriots that I think a lot of people started getting on that bandwagon.
Yeah, but the Dolphins game what was that, 158 yards from scrimmage?
Yeah.
That was a different level.
So I think, this Aaron Rodgers team is always going to be Aaron Rodgers team, It's one of those situations where, you got a high-paying quarterback who's going to take a lot from other players. I think we're going to start seeing I think there's going to be a shift in the NFL soon where, organizations are going to start realizing when they have good quarterbacks on rookie contracts, they can just dominate the league. I think that's going to happen within the next couple of years. We're going to start seeing a little less big payout contracts. Well,
you might see some more contracts kind of like Aaron Rodgers because actually going into next offseason, the Packers have about $45 million of cap space, I believe, coming into the offseason.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
Lions.
That's the Tom Brady special. Tom Brady has been underpaid for like a decade now on purpose so that the Patriots can afford to pay the few players paying.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I don't get is you see
what? Well, I'll continue. Anyway, so we
it's what Matt Stafford got criticized for not doing. And as most of the fan base said, pay him. He earned it. He's our guy. But there was a segment of the fan base saying, hey, you look at Tom Brady, and I didn't realize Aaron Rodgers did it too, structured his contract in a way that they could end up making moves later on. But there you go. It's the overall team suffers for you to get paid, and Matt Stafford just, said that's not how he wanted to do his contract.
Yeah, I think we're gonna start seeing like I said, like a political payout shift. The Lions lost Ndamukong Suh, who's got paid out in Miami, got paid out in LA now. He could still potentially be on the Lions had they not paid so much. And where is he now?
Well,
a team where they don't pay a lot.
I wouldn't have wanted to pay Sue what he got. Miami was
absolutely
hamstrung
not.
By his contract.
Absolutely not.
And then when he's in the Rams on a 1-year deal, they can get out of that. Miami had to give him multiple years, $100 million. It was ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I remember that contract now.
Yeah, and
that's not the kind of thing you want to be involved in. But I agree. The better situation to be in is when you don't have that quarterback, where you can be like the Jags. I mean, the Jags don't have a rookie, but Blake Bortles doesn't make that much money. He didn't before this year either, even more so. So they were able to sign all these guys, the best defensive players that came up on the market, because they wanted to play with these other guys who were signing there. So their defense got even richer. I could see more teams trying to,
especially with the
that way,
success that the Rams have brought by doing that. Like if they win the Super Bowl this year, that's definitely going to be some more teams are going to be trying that in the future, like you said.
Right, like a few years ago, the Rams could have said, okay, we're gonna try to wait for a Kirk Cousins moment so we can sign the best quarterback. But instead, they were, they just kept trying to draft that guy, And the Jags should go do that. Because if you talk about Russell Wilson wasn't supposed to be the starter of the year he was drafted. He just beat that guy out because that guy was just some average Blake Bortles type guy. He was actually the Packers' backup quarterback who threw 6 touchdowns against
Flynn.
the Lions.
Flynn?
Yeah, Matt Flynn.
Yes, exactly. It was Flynn. And he was expected to be the Seattle starter. And, they still tried to draft a quarterback to compete with him. And I think, the Jags should go do that for sure. Like you guys
100%.
mentioned earlier.
I think their first round pick should definitely be spent on a QB this year.
Jags
might as well go for it.
I mean, I haven't been keeping up with college, so I don't know if there's necessarily another, top tier quarterback coming out.
QBs are kind of hard to
gauge. I know.
Yeah, the NFL scouts end up picking them out. I watched Patrick Mahomes in college. I watched him play at Texas Tech. For all I knew, he was just another small guy chucking the ball a ton of times down the field in these high-scoring games. Him and Baker Mayfield played each other in some ridiculously high-scoring game where, from my eye, I couldn't tell if either of them would be NFL quarterbacks.
Because the talent in college is so spread out that.
Yeah, and the offenses are so crazy that these guys can put up crazy numbers. Like everyone who goes to certain schools like Texas Tech, they're just an offensive school.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so who do you guys got winning? Dolphins, Packers. Go.
Packers. It's at Lambeau. I mean, that's easily one of the top 3 toughest places to play. In the cold. They got snow up there.
I got Packers
Miami,
as well.
Yeah. It's Packers.
I'm picking the Packers because the Dolphins suck. There you go.
All right, so primetime game. Cowboys 3-5 taking on the reigning Super Bowl champs 4-4 Eagles. NFC East Sunday Night Football. Who do you guys got?
Eagles, yeah. Another divisional game, but the Cowboys, that offense, Dak Prescott, I mean, he is definitely not what people thought he was. I mean, it's kind of weird looking back and being like, this is the guy that put Tony Romo out of the league. But just even with the addition of Amari Cooper, I don't see this offense competing with the Eagles.
Yeah, I think that offense relies too heavily on Ezekiel Elliott. It's one of those teams, just like McCoy and the Bills, where they relied too heavily on just one guy. And Dak Prescott isn't the guy to continue going forward.
He's not good enough to change that is the problem.
Yeah.
Exactly. They have decent, Cole Beasley, who has a lot of yards. Ezekiel Elliott is their 3rd best receiver with 226 yards. When you have like Taven Austin, you have these decent
He's
guys.
been a gimmick player his whole career. Tavon Austin's more of like a return guy rather than a real receiver.
He should still have more yards receiving than a running back, though, is what I'm saying. And, we look at Ezekiel Elliott.
No, their wide receiver depth chart should be better.
Yeah, I mean, and Dak needs to attack the field more, down the field, instead of these little quick yard dumps.
Well, all I'm saying is, Andrew Luck on this quarterback team could still make 11 receivers out of these guys. And they don't have they need a better depth in receiving, sure. But they have good enough guys where you shouldn't have to rely on just one guy. And, that comes down to, like you were saying, Dak.
I mean,
Cole
their
Beasley's
receivers
good.
are Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, who's people think he'll turn into a good guy, but he's a rookie. Cole Beasley is somebody. I mean, he's doing what Cole Beasley does. He's a small, shifty guy. He's a poor man's Julian Edelman, and then they have Tavon Austin. I mean, Tavon Austin is, he couldn't stick around on the Rams because they didn't want him. They used a high pick on him and they didn't want him. I think Dak sucks, but I think his weapons also suck. He doesn't have a good tight end either. I mean, this is a team that went from Jason Witten to Jeff Swaim. I mean,
well, yeah, it's hard to fill Jason Witten's shoes, but
yeah, they're not giving him much to work with. I mean, you look at the other side. Wentz has Golden Tate, Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar, Zach Ertz.
Wentz hasn't thrown to Golden Tate yet, though.
I'm just saying situationally, Dak's been given a short straw. I mean, yeah, he's not. If Andrew Luck was there, but everyone can't be Andrew Luck. So they need to do a better job of building their team.
That's true, I guess. Dak Prescott, I think I don't think he's the guy to push this Cowboys team forward. That's all I'm saying. And I think just like Derek Carr, he's a little bit overrated. I think he's good. I think he's talented, but I don't think he's the guy to be sticking around the Cowboys for that much longer. I mean, you go from a quarterback like Tony Romo, who probably should have won the Super Bowl at least once in his career, to Dak Prescott, who's average at best. Maybe a top 10 on a weekly basis, every other week or something, but he's not a top 10 quarterback. And you look at the Cowboys, and typically you have people who want to play on the Cowboys, and they can't make it happen. I don't know why, but they have. I think it's Ezekiel Elliott, man. I think they've put too much into Ezekiel Elliott offensively, where they're always looking for Elliott to bail them out, and because of that, Tavon Austin may be a poor man's, whatever, but when
he's actually Tavon Austin's kind of just. He's a guy that he's just all speed. Cole Beasley is a good underneath guy for sure. I agree with you that Dak Prescott's not the guy who's going to take them over the top. It's just that it was only 2 years ago that he was a good enough game manager, like you said, he forced Romo out of the league. He's similar to Marcus Mariota. He's not like one of the top guys, but if your team's good, he's definitely good enough to get you really far.
Rob said that Jerry Jones said he was going to extend Dak Prescott. So
that's crazy. That's just crazy. You don't need to guarantee that right now, especially with what we see. Yeah, that's stupid.
And I mean, like you said, Tavon Austin. I mean, he's essentially a Cordell Patterson, and Cordell Patterson needed
that's a
to
good
go
comparison
to the best coach in the NFL to be utilized correctly.
He's still not like that breakout of a player.
No, and I'm not saying he's not like, but this is probably one of his best seasons. But it took Bill Belichick.
True.
Jason Garrett is not Bill Belichick, and I think of things what that happened in Dallas is obviously I agree with you guys. Dak Prescott's not the guy to carry this team forward. They have relied heavily on Zeke, but I think they've relied heavily in the past 5-10 years, so heavily on their run game and that offensive line that they have allowed that receiving core to fall apart. I mean, when you had Tony Romo under center, he could obviously, you just watch the guy commentating. He could read defenses and play so well that he could make the plays. I don't think Dak has that ability quite on that level. And so I think how much they relied on their running game. I mean, they turned any running back that they had from, Murray, both Murrays, I believe. They could always be, one of the best runners in the league and that receiving core just fell apart, and then not signing Dez again this offseason, I believe was a mistake. But yeah,
I mean, we should also mention their offensive line has had injuries. Their left tackle Tyron Smith.
You cut out a little bit. But long story short, I don't. Are you back, Ryan? Ryan.
Yes, I can't hear
I
him
think
either.
they're.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, he's coming in and
He's
out.
also been dealing with injuries. I think their offensive line you're right. They built their team for that to be the best part. And if that falls apart, the money isn't anywhere else on your team. So your team's not going to be good. Also on defense, Sean Lee is one of the best linebackers in the league, and he's constantly injured.
Yeah. 100%.
It's like this Cowboys team had potential. It's just it can't. It's all falling apart.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it makes me happy to watch.
Yeah. With all that said, I don't mind it.
Eagles. I'm excited to watch Golden Tate this week. I think he's going to be a very good weapon on the Eagles team. I think he's going to be a good weapon on any team he plays for, to be honest. But I think Carson Wentz is a good quarterback. He's kind of lucked out in the same way that Jimmy Graham's lucked out. You go from Drew Brees to Russell Wilson to Aaron Rodgers. Golden Tate goes from Russell Wilson to Matthew Stafford to Carson Wentz. He's going to be producing well on this team. And then you have other weapons around you. You got Zach Ertz, who's arguably
Alshon Jeffrey.
top 3 tight end. Alshon Jeffrey.
Zach Ertz, yeah, him and Kelsey, that's 1 and 2 because Gronk has fallen off. I mean, George Kittle has kind of come up there talent-wise. If George Kittle had a really good quarterback, he might, and athletically, he might be better than those guys. I think Kelsey is number 1, but Zach Ertz is nobody. He runs routes like nobody else at tight end.
If Jimmy Graham was utilized better up there in Green Bay, I think he could make potential be a top 3, top 4 too.
That's the thing. This offseason, if Green Bay signs another fucking tight end, I'm going to flip my shit. If that tight end is not named Jared Cook, I'm going to flip out. We do not use tight ends. Like, it took Rodgers half a season to find, to even connect with Cook, and that's one tight end he's ever really connected with in his career. And the fact that we have 3 of them on our team, or 4 actually, is just
God.
I got to figure out where you're going with. So yeah, overall, wait, Carson Wentz had a reception this year? That's weird.
That's the Philly special, man.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
That's their thing, so I'm not surprised.
I forgot about the Philly special.
Yeah, the Eagles, the one thing is their defense was really good last year, and they haven't played as well, but I think the same pieces are there, so they could easily get it together. I know one of their cornerback, Jalen Mills, he was getting burned like crazy at the beginning of the year, to the point that people kept asking him asking Schwartz if he was going to bench him, and so they're beyond him. So I think that they might come together, and this could be a game where they come out and make a statement.
Yeah. Speaking of their defense, though, Jordan Hicks, 3 sacks. Fletcher Cox, what a hilarious name. 4 sacks. So they have good defense still, and now they have a really good offense. I think with the addition of Golden Tate, it's going to open up the playbook a little bit more. You can dish the ball to Golden Tate almost anywhere on the field, and he's going to get you yards. So it's going to be interesting seeing how this Eagles team goes forward. They're sitting 4-4. I think they're only second in their division behind the Redskins, who are 5-3. You know, a
I'll say
win.
that division's wide open.
That division is wide open, with the exception of the Giants.
The Redskins are not going to run away with it.
No, I don't think. Even if the Eagles win, and the Redskins lose this week, they're playing the Bucks. They could win, or they could lose. Even if they do, and the Eagles win the next one, I don't know. It's weird because, there's a lot of divisions still that have I don't know. Like at this point in the season, you're almost like, okay, this guy's gonna win that division. This team's gonna win that division. But we're looking at like 3, 4, 5 divisions that there's no front runners, which is, I think it's awesome.
I would say that there's 2 divisions where there's front runners. I mean, the Saints and the Chiefs.
Maybe the Pats.
The Patriots, I guess, too. Yeah.
And I mean, even the Chiefs have the Chargers right behind them.
True. Like that. I mean, the Chiefs. We just don't expect them to start dropping games. But still, the Chargers. Yeah, the Chargers in any other division they'd be in the lead.
Exactly. So you got the Patriots, the Saints, the Rams, and the Chiefs are, but the Chargers
Everywhere
are right
else,
there, and the Chiefs.
I mean,
every other division is up for grabs for
sure. Can you really say the Saints though? They're only like one game ahead of the Panthers right now. And
yeah, exactly.
Saints.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. That's true. That's actually a good point. Yeah. So even that division's kind of right there.
I'll say so. Really, the only divisions that you could give it to either one is the Patriots and the Rams, and that's it.
And so that leaves the rest of the divisions just in a battle. You're right. That's the great thing about the NFL. There is true parity every year. It's teams battling it out to the very end.
Yeah, and I think once the AFC loses Brady and Roethlisberger, the AFC is going to come down to the NFC level of competitiveness, and it's going to be really good.
At that point, the Baker Mayfield and the Browns dominance will start.
Well,
that's when we grab our popcorn.
Think about Patrick Mahomes. They got their 3 stars on that team, on that Chiefs team, are all within 3. Like the oldest one is Tyreek Hill, and this is his 3rd year playing. Like that team is going to be dominant.
Yeah, but by the time,
oh yeah, they will.
Patriots lose Tom Brady, though, will they even be able to afford all those weapons? Mahomes is going to take a huge payout.
But that's like you said before, if the contract restructuring thing kind of takes hold, like you said, where teams are starting to they want to pay for more to build around the quarterback and just instead of just paying for the quarterback, but they could still keep him.
Is that going to start with a rookie quarterback who has 29 touchdowns?
No, and I mean these are all young guys who essentially started all their careers together. I mean, Hunt and Mahomes joined the team at the same time. Tyreek Hill only started a year before them. So there's going to be that camaraderie there as well.
Yeah, but Hunt's going to want to get paid too.
I mean, Kareem, you don't have to pay Kareem Hunt. It's as sad as it is. Running backs are disposable in this league. I mean,
I'll say they got a lifespan of maybe 4 to 5 years if your name isn't Frank Gore or Adrian Peterson.
If you're not a Hall of Famer, you are replaceable. I mean, you lock up Gurley, which makes sense. You lock up, Le'Veon Bell, but that's because those guys can carry your team. I mean, Kareem Hunt's playing well. It's just I think if you stick in another running back, the team wouldn't be missing a beat right now.
Right. I mean, I think that team relies heavily on their speed, and running backs are pretty known for their speed. So you're probably right. They can replace him if they need to.
It's all athletic ability over in Kansas City.
Yeah, really, Mahomes looks so good that we'll try. I don't know how long we're talking, but they just need him, Kelsey, and Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I mean, Mahomes is sitting at 29 touchdowns right now.
Exactly.
Been a while. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen a quarterback actually, aside from that season where Brady, Manning, and Breeze all went nuts. It's been a while since we've seen this many touchdowns.
Right, and that's what I was saying. If they do start restructuring quarterback contracts, it's not going to start with 29 touchdown Mahomes. It's not.
No.
But all right, moving forward, last game of the week, Giants. It's gonna be a good one, boys, girls. Giants 1-7 versus the 49ers, who were 2-7. Monday Night Football.
I'm excited.
I mean, at least Saquon Barkley is gonna get me a shit ton of points in fantasy football.
Yeah, this Giants team, outside of Shaquan Barkley, is just kind of lost in the dark. I mean, there still seems to be that disconnect with Odell Beckham and Eli Manning. I mean, that I don't know how it is in that locker room if they've calmed it down, but that game a few weeks ago where Odell Beckham just walked into the, right before halftime, just walked into the locker room. It just shows a lack of faith in this team. And Nick Mullins, I mean, last week I was impressed, and just reading up on that guy and like listening to, apparently this is a guy who he practiced that playbook so much that he knew the plays before the coach was even calling them. And apparently in the huddles, he would make jokes to the guys, with the coach talking in his headset saying that, oh, he's talking too much, and would just rattle off the play right there. This is a guy that's put in the work, and now we're seeing the dividends pay out. Just out of that,
is that
I'm
good playing
go
though?
49ers win this.
Is that good playing though, or is that bad coaching? Like, if your player knows what you're gonna pick, that pretty much just shows you have a shitty coach, man.
No, I mean, this guy, he would sit back. He would watch the game when he was on the practice squad, and then he would stay after the game and run all the plays by himself. Like, this is just preparation on this kid's end.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if he's watching the game and knows what plays the coach is about to play, that means the defensive coordinators of whoever they're playing can watch the game and know what play they're about to play.
Well, I'm sure it's more off their game plan, like their scripted game plan, more than anything.
We're talking about a guy who was there at practice all week, knowing what the game plan is for certain situations against this exact team.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure. Go ahead.
Mentioned it if you did a show since Mullins' first game, but that he got verified on Twitter halfway through the game. He was playing so well.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That's the best part of what happened last week. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, so I want Nick Mullins to win, and I think that Giants is a big enough dumpster fire in New York that he could definitely do it. Plus, I hate Eli Manning. Fuck that guy.
Oh, he's your Marcus Mariota.
Oh,
apparently.
Absolutely.
So
I don't hate Eli, but I do think they'll lose because the Giants are not. The Giants are just as bad as Oakland, and the 49ers destroyed them. I think that the dissension in New York is there. The team is falling apart. Odell Beckham talks too much. Eli is too bad. The defense, they sold all their parts of their defense that are good.
Gave Eli Apple to the Saints.
We got Damon Harrison.
It's over there. And I think the 49ers are they're a team that still cares. I mean, they've lost pieces, but their running back gets injured every week and still comes back into the game. Matt Breida. He's green. This dude is insane, and their team, I think, is just still playing. I don't know for what, but for something.
They're playing with a lot of heart, and you got to respect it. And like you said, Kittle is turning into a very great tight end. And so
decent team now.
So
if Mullins can keep it up, for sure.
Yeah, it's a team you got to give a lot of respect to, for sure.
I'm actually gonna go opposite of what you guys said, and I'm gonna say the Giants are going to win this game. Sure, their offense or their locker room is kind of a dumpster fire at each other's throats. And, I joked about it earlier in the podcast about, the Jaguars are kind of turning into the same thing. But that being said, I don't think, even if they're not caring, even if they're not trying as much as they should be, they gave away a lot of their weapons. But I don't think there's a team that's so low that they won't try on a primetime game. And I think because of that, I think we're going to see a big game out of Saquon Barkley and what's his name, Sterling Shepard. Odell Beckham Jr. I think will do okay. I think there's that disconnect like you were saying. Eli Manning's, I know you hate him, but he's still okay. He's not having a great year, only 8 touchdowns, and I know a lot of their locker room problems kind of stems from him still being there. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing the Giants look for a quarterback soon. But I think Saquon Barkley still has something to prove, and I think he's just going to run all over this 49ers defense, who doesn't necessarily have a great rush defense right now. So that's what I think.
That's true. The 49ers are terrible.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at paper and you compare position to position, you would have to give it to New York. Eli Manning versus a quarterback who just got verified on Twitter a week ago. 2 Super Bowl reigning champions. This guy has 2 rings compared to Nick Mullins. You'd have to give it to Eli. Saquon Barkley is easily top 5 running back in the league right now, and is just a beast all around. And you got Odell Beckham Jr. and Sterling Shepard. That is a damn good receiving duo. But the fact that this team hasn't put anything together, it just, I don't know. I think it speaks volumes.
Hard to trust them.
Exactly. And then like you mentioned, how this 49ers team there's injuries week in and week out, and they're still playing their all. They're still giving it their all, still giving it their heart. And I think that's it shows kind of the both ends of the spectrum on the coaching on each side, where this 49ers coach is showing,
I was going to say the
keeping his
Giants
team
would
in
kill
there.
to have the 49ers coach. They would kill to have Shanahan as their coach.
Oh, I'd kill to have Shanahan as our coach.
Yeah, right.
Man,
it's yeah. I was going to mention that you're saying that the Giants should go get a quarterback, and I think part of me, conspiracy theory, I think that there was good quarterbacks in this past draft, but I think they saw Saquon Barkley and thought, okay, we can get a generational running back, put him on the team, we'll still be bad, and we'll get a high draft pick, and we'll pick a quarterback next year, and then we'll just have our own Dak Zeke, pairing when they both came into the league and were great together as young quarterback and running back. I think they saw Saquon Barkley, because people were like, you don't draft a running back when your team needs everything else. But I think they just said, screw everything else, screw this year. We'll just run out Eli another year, and we'll worry about the quarterback later.
That's more or less what the Lions did when they drafted, Megatron, and then the next year they got Stafford. So
I think it's a good plan. It's what we were talking about earlier. Build your team. Get other pieces of your team, because the quarterback, you want them as young and cheap as you can. Even if they're great, that like Patrick Mahomes, that's great. But if they're serviceable, at least you can buy other parts of your team.
Exactly, and what else? There's a lot of teams that have young quarterbacks still who are doing pretty decent. That's the thing. Eagles, Wentz. I wouldn't even say he's having a great year this year. He's not having a great year, but Wentz, talent-wise, is incredible. Incredible. And same with Watson, down there in Texas. And he's still on a rookie contract.
He's also extremely talented. These are all quarterbacks that the Browns could have had before Mayfield, by the way.
Right?
It's terrible. Mahomes is another one.
This year, I wanted the Browns to get Barkley at that first overall pick, because just how he was at the combine and just watching his games, you could tell this, like you said, a generational athlete all around. Just
absolutely.
Monster.
All right, and they could have done okay with Tyrod Taylor still. Had they chose Saquon
Taylor or Saquon Barkley back there with him.
Right.
Yeah, and again, if they ended up bad, which they are right now, they're 2-6 and whatever. They're gonna have a high draft pick again. They could have just tried to get a quarterback. I think Baker's really good, and I'm sitting here. We're kind of underrating the effect a quarterback can have on your team. It can change everything. Just their demeanor, their leadership. It makes the culture a winning culture. Like you were saying, it's demoralizing not to have a good quarterback. And Baker's come in and just done everything right. He's not, breaking out as a superstar, but I think he will be.
Yeah, I think he definitely in years to come. Like, I'm not criticizing that pick. I'm just, saying
Yeah,
that.
no, I know, I see what you're saying because Barkley is amazing.
I mean, the
Yeah.
dude already has over 1,000 yards on the season as a rookie. I mean,
Yeah, like, absolutely, like you said, generational talent. Easily could have been the number 1 overall pick, especially because I think the Browns had the 3rd overall pick as well, or
Yeah.
they had
And
like
the
2
fourth.
top. Yeah,
they had the 1st and the 4th, and a lot of people wanted them to pick the other Chubb. I can't remember his name, but he went to Denver. He's a defensive lineman. Because they would put him with Myles Garrett, defensive end, put him with Myles Garrett, and they would have been a scary line of pass rushers. But they went with Denzel Ward, and everyone was very confused by that. But he's been a shutdown corner.
I
So
wanted
the
Ward.
Browns.
I watched him at Ohio State. Like, he was a monster there, and I was hoping the Packers would trade up for him. But I'm happy with the cornerbacks that we ended up coming with. But yeah, Ward has been doing
It worked
great.
out really well for the Packers, but turns out they didn't need him because they picked really good cornerbacks as well.
well, they had
Yeah.
Clinton Dix, right? So,
Yeah.
well, I think
Yeah,
the
I was
Browns
hoping
also had a really high 2nd round pick. So
Yeah,
I think they could have easily went with, Saquon Barkley,
Is that
number
where they
1.
got Nick Chubb?
Yeah, I think so. I think they could have went Saquon Barkley, number 1, and then picked up Baker Mayfield, number 3. I don't think, like, whoever number 2 was going to pick up Baker Mayfield between that.
well, because number
Number
2
two
was
was
the
the
Giants.
Yeah, so why didn't they
Yeah.
just go? Well, they might have picked up Baker Mayfield, but then you still have Tyrod Taylor for another year. Cut your losses, pick up a quarterback next year. Like,
Well, I mean, how many quarterbacks went in the first 10 picks? It was like 4 of them. I mean, how many? We got like 4 or 5 rookie quarterbacks this year.
yeah, Rosen
I was
was
gonna
up
say
there.
there was so
Baker Mayfield was up there.
we didn't know that Baker Mayfield was going to be the number 1 pick. There was Josh Allen was also Rosen, Darnold.
Darnold.
There was all those guys were like in a mix together. It wasn't until after the draft that every GM came out, and this is before the season, and said, yeah, Baker Mayfield was the guy who was going to be the number 1 pick if we had to pick a quarterback, and he was number 1 because he went into the meetings and just impressed the hell out of everyone.
Really? Why didn't? But that's the thing though. Like, if 4 or 5 quarterbacks go in top 10, chances are you're still going to get a good quarterback if you pick up Saquon Barkley, number 1. So.
Yeah, but they wanted to get their guy. I mean, I get what they were doing. They wanted to get their guy. Like we said, running back is not as important as quarterback. When it comes to a guy like Barkley, who can have Adrian Peterson levels of game-changing ability, maybe it is. But at the same time, quarterback's just a more important position.
Yeah, and running backs are more susceptible to injuries and all that. And like you said, just the charisma Baker May. I mean, that very first game he came in, you could see just the energy he brings to the team.
That's fair.
Yeah, imagine that after an off season together.
Right.
Absolutely.
They're looking great. Moving on. We're like, we sound like Browns fans this whole show.
We're at the 2-hour mark, so we should probably wrap it up. Is there any last thing you guys want to talk about? One thing I want to talk about is Amir Abdullah getting dropped from the Lions, picked up by the Vikings. I think it's going to be interesting going to the Vikings. I never thought Amir Abdullah was a bad running back when he played for the Lions. I think he kind of always went down first contact, and he's more of an open field, juke 'em and nuke 'em type of guy. And if the Vikings can implement that, they got themselves a decent running back in Amir Abdullah. But that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. Because I forgot to mention that.
I feel like he's just like, they might just use him as the return guy.
They could.
Yeah,
I don't even know
Cook
why.
came back, and Cook looked pretty good. I'd say I could see it. Like, if it was, a week ago and they were playing you guys, bring them in to get some inside
get the
tips.
plays.
Yeah, but now, I mean, you guys play them again in a couple weeks. But
I think they just want depth, just because
I mean, Cook is obviously
they're-
injury prone. I mean, he's a great running back, but
Yeah.
he has trouble staying on the field.
I mean, they
Abdullah
could.
won't make a difference.
I mean, honestly, Abdullah is decent at slant routes as well. Theo Riddick kind of overshined him in the Lions. He's decent catcher. He wasn't as good as Riddick, which is why they always played him. He wasn't as explosive as Kerryon Johnson or whatever his name is, LeGarrette Blount. So he didn't really have a position on this team. But if they play him opposite, do some slant routes opposite Thielen, I think he can be explosive. If you give him the ball in the open field, he's gone. Just Lions never could get him the ball because Jim Bob Cooter doesn't know how to make plays. So I don't know. And
the Vikings, the way I don't know if there's enough touches to go around for him to get that kind of thing. Like the way they use Stephon Diggs the way you're talking about trying to use Abdullah, and maybe they'll throw him in for like a couple plays a game to try to get him that.
Yeah, it's kind of a player that no one really thinks about, kind of the shadow.
exactly.
Yeah, but then him coming into the game kind of tips off the defense. So it's almost like you'd rather just use Dalvin Cook so that they don't know. But
well, that's kind of
we'll see.
That's kind of an issue with running by commission though, right? Like you see one guy and you're like, well, this guy's their catcher.
Backs, if you're gonna have him coming in a game. But that was working earlier for the Lions because what they ended up doing was they put LeGarrette Blount in and then it'd be a passing play. They were throwing, throwing it at you looking one way and doing the other.
Right.
I don't know if we went away from that or whatever, but yeah, you're right. Running back by committee, everyone has to have the same skill set or at least
comparable.
Can do it. Yeah, exactly. Like you might not be the pass catching guy, but you better be able to catch a pass.
Right. But anyway, I think unless you guys got something else, we're gonna wrap it up here.
I'm good.
I'm set.
All right. So that's it. Thank you guys for stopping by. Appreciate it. You guys, we'll see us next Friday if we don't do one Monday. We'll see how that goes. And we will catch you guys later. Peace out.